We do our podcasts more or less once a week. We do one on a Tuesday, and we should do three on a Thursday. Today's the Thursday. But as life is, we can only do one today, and then we'll do two on tomorrow on Friday.
Yeah.
But more or less, we're limited to material around these days that we can put on air. While it's still fresh. However, sometimes we have to keep some topics under wraps, so to speak, because of force majeure. And the subject of this episode comes under this category. Okay. You see, this story, because it became so short-lived because of the problem in Iran, and the whole world seemed to be looking east. This story brings the subject a little closer to home once again, involving Ukraine. Now, before I give all the details about this article from around 2 weeks ago, before the Iranian conflict actively began, we need to look at a little bit of history, non-biased history, to try and understand better where we are. So, in 2014, Ukraine held a very dodgy election, which did not hold water with the Ukrainian population. I'm not here to fight the merits of either side of the political spectrum. It is what it is.
Yeah.
The election was held and left a lot of the Ukrainian population with a flea behind the ear. So much so that the population in Crimea and the provinces of Donetsk and Lugansk, these last two being part of the larger Donbass region of Ukraine, they held referendums to decide if they want to be part of Ukraine or not. In the case of the Crimea, the referendum, it was held on the 16th of March, 2014. But after the Russian troops entered the region, so the Russian troops entered the Crimea, because they heard the cries of help.
Yeah.
Then they held the referendum, and then it was decided by 97% of the vote that Crimea would move over to being a state ruled by Russia. Right. Once again, I'm not going to defend the merits of the result of the referendum, but suffice to say that within the Crimean region, there have been no signs of disdain from any faction of the people. So nobody's complaining about it in Crimea. They're all quite happy. So there must be some truth in that 97% of the referendum.
Yeah.
Donbass, for its part, held a people's referendum on the 11th of May 2014, where the populations did not want to be part of Ukraine. This sparked a civil war between Kiev and the Donbass, with Kiev attacking the east against the resistance of Donbass forces. Now, this is a little bit like, I suppose, that part in Spain. Catalonia wants to be independent in Spain, and the Basque region, they have their separatists, and sometimes they take up arms. So it'll be something like a little bit like this, Fast forward to 2022, when the Donetsk and Lugansk provinces called on Russia for aid to help defend against Kiev, because they were being bombarded by Kiev. At first, the first request was refused by Russia to help them, as the two places did not make themselves independent officially from the rest of Ukraine. I don't know if you remember that, where Russia said, that you've got to be independent states.
Yes,
Right. So this was resolved on the 23rd of September 2022 with another referendum. After the referendums, Russia recognized the states as independent, and after being called for yet again, entered into the region to defend the populations. That is what happened in its most simplest form.
Yes.
I don't want to get into the details of who said what to when, and right.
Yeah, we could be here 3 hours doing this. Yeah,
They were.
yeah,
Though the way the Western press say that the European political leaning country of Ukraine was being invaded by Russia, that's what the press said.
yes,
That Putin's a very naughty man and he invaded Ukraine.
yeah,
He was asked to go in
mm,
to these regions
yeah,
that declared themselves independent. And almost $400 billion later,
mm,
we are where we are.
yeah,
Okay. The latest article, or rather the article I'm wanting to discuss, is about the negotiations taking place between Ukraine and Russia.
mm,
Apparently, the US is in agreement with Russia and have told Zelensky that his troops must leave the Donbass region of that neck of the woods, which of course Zelensky is refusing to do.
mm,
And that seems to be the sticking point.
yeah, that territory. Yeah,
Some pundits claim that Russia is losing force as it doesn't seem to be advancing its front lines to take over the west of Ukraine, when in truth, I believe, Russia has no intention to do, if not in retaliation to attacks within the Russian homeland and infrastructure.
yeah,
So if Ukraine sends their drones across into Russia and blow things up,
mm,
Russia's going to retaliate,
yeah, yeah,
right, in kind. But in terms of internally in Ukraine, Russia doesn't want to go into Kiev.
mm,
It wants just to protect the Donbass region.
yeah, yeah,
So we are where we are. When Kiev can abide by the decision, not even of Putin, but of the populations of the Donbass region, which do not wish to be part of Ukraine anymore, the sooner that everybody can go home and live their ordinary lives.
mm,
Of
yeah,
course, modern day politics probably will not allow that to happen, as of course there is too much money at stake, and
yeah,
we've already covered the previous podcast.
yes,
So much so that there's a Ukrainian general. We did a podcast about
yeah,
Zelensky threatening
yeah,
Orban,
yeah,
Hungary. There's a Ukrainian general who said to Orban that he should look after his grandchildren and his children.
mm.
So, it's making the Ukraine look like a very, very mafioso state, if you ask me.
Yeah, okay,
But anyway, that's where we got. We got a little bit of the history of what's happened
yeah,
in Ukraine and how it should, as the Americans seem to think and Russia seem to think. And to
yeah,
be quite honest, it's the easiest way to do it,
yeah,
is how to resolve the problem and everybody moves on.
right, yeah, yes. I mean, obviously, I've heard both sides of the story, not just from yourself, but from yeah, different other things I've read and seen. Um, it is a to say it's complex. It's not. Um, I've heard, yeah, somebody I know heard actually heard somebody from the Ukraine who actually doesn't actually live down in that region. Actually lives in the west of Ukraine. Say what took Putin so long to come and save the people. Um, yeah, I mean the people of the Ukrainian people, the Russian, we call them Russian speaking, for want of a better term. They're not white Russians as referred to and all that. That's a very old term and outdated. Yeah. Um, they do feel, well, they do feel they're being treated second class by the rest of the Ukrainian population. Now, I'm not going to say if that's true or not, if it's banter or anything else. It's like yeah. Um, but yeah, they do feel probably not Russian, but more akin to Russian. Um, and I don't think it was actually governed by Russia. I thought it was an autonomous Russian type state they were looking to have. So they'd be self-governing
That's
with
right. Which is,
with
like I said,
yeah,
Putin would go in to help them
yeah,
until they define themselves as
yeah,
autonomous. And then
yeah,
Putin recognized them as being autonomous states, then
yeah,
went in to help them.
yeah. I mean they were the unbadged ghost battalions. I think they got called. Yeah. yeah, it was Putin not trying to provoke. I mean, okay, geopolitics and the maneuvering in the background, and there's the public side of it. You've always got
Yeah,
to be careful. The most important agenda is always a hidden agenda.
of course.
And yeah, Russia will play that game as well as the as well as
Yeah,
anyone else will. Let's be
but that's
honest.
that's why
Yeah,
I to try to strip it bare
yeah,
of all the shenanigans of all what
yeah,
all the Boris Johnsons and all this.
yeah. Yeah.
Keep all that out of it. Just the plain facts of what happened.
Yeah, and um, yeah. I mean, it's a timeline of history. Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, when we start talking about the way that it did happen, yeah, that's the way I understood it. I mean, okay, Putin sent the troops in to help his mates over the border as he saw them being persecuted. Um, yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, remember prior to 2014, or even prior to that, the Ukrainians and the Russians were actually quite happily doing business with each other, allowing the Russians to have. I mean, the fact there's still pipelines that are contentious running across Ukraine from Russia, still operating, is a head scratcher, really, or just shows the relationship they had before. Um, and a lot of Ukrainians and Russians are actually related as well, but you have to take that aside because that's like sort of saying,
The
yeah,
next to each other, for goodness sake.
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was reading
Kissing
a,
bosoms.
yeah. I mean, I
Kissing
mean,
bosoms.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I was feeling, I still feel a bit sorry for the former owner of Chelsea, who was forced to sell up his stake and all that. It's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to British football. Yeah, um, but Abramovich, yeah. I was reading about him, and he's taken the British government to court next week. This is it next week or something, or this week, over a few issues that they won't release the money to go and help um, victims of the war on both Russian and Ukrainian victims of the war because he's got billions tied up and the British government won't release it or something. Yeah. Which is again, the viewers may be able to research that if they want. If I tell me I'm wrong or right. Um, so yeah, now, yeah, this is it. It is more anywhere. Yeah, we're now talking more about a propaganda war than anything else. Um, and that is exactly it. I mean, yeah, let let's be honest. Whether you believe it or not, Putin gave an interview to a Western journalist at length and explained detail by detail what he believed. You can choose to believe Putin or not. I can't think of any other. I can't think of any other politician in the West that has effectively done that. It's all been snippets and innuendo. No, none of them have actually sat down with someone for 2.5 hours and explained what the entire situation is. Um, which is almost a natural. Well, we don't need to because we're on the side of right, whatever the information is. Um,
It's
I,
a propaganda. That's probably why
yeah,
Russia Today and Sputnik have been banned in Europe and the UK to be aired, just like Al Jazeera.
yeah,
No UK has access to these news outlets.
well, restricted access. Yeah, yeah, you can, you
Well, you've
can,
got to get a VPN, but I
yeah, yeah,
mean, what I'm trying to get at is that
yeah, yeah. They're
in
stopping.
general, these places, they not everybody on the internet knows what a VPN is, for example.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean that's modern technology, and yeah, which I mean, let's be honest. Within Russia, I'll go change it, alter it a little bit. Russia have effectively banned a majority of Western social media um, companies. Facebook's banned, I believe. Instagram's banned. I think TikTok is as well. I saw a list today of banned social media and other things that you might want to check out, Steve. Yeah, this is by a Russian who lives in America now, saying what's being banned, who's not actually anti-pro or anti anything. She just said this is all being banned now, and also obviously belonging to fringe political groups for different sectors of, yeah, of society. Yeah.
Start,
Yeah,
start to muddy the waters.
yeah, but um, yes, but getting back to our main discussion, yeah, I think yes, I do happen to know. I mean, I saw reports that predate 2014 of things happening in Ukraine, even on the BBC, and
Yeah,
these are still available online, um,
yeah,
on YouTube, about the state of Ukraine before that, before the 2014 change of
election.
election. Yeah, and yeah, the different views and everything then. Um, and it was almost a little bit of sympathy for the Russian speaking, again, I use the term Russian speaking, um,
Yeah,
Ukrainians for the way
yes, yeah,
that
yeah.
I mean, they had their
Russian was
waters.
being banned.
Yeah, they
Books
had,
in Russian were being banned.
yeah,
Teaching in schools in Russian was banned.
yeah,
But I mean, look, once again,
mm,
that is a domestic thing. Let them
yeah,
sort it out.
yeah,
Talking about what happened historically,
yeah,
uh, taking away all the politics, this and that's, and
yeah.
four
Um,
whys and these, just to say that's what happened, and here we are.
yeah, we've got to where we got to today. How do we move forward? The likes of Elon Musk, okay, you can believe him or not believe him. He said he thinks the conflict will end with the Crimea and Donbass being given, or Russian, or being separatist, be it under, okay, it's going to be under Russian control to some level. Yeah. Possibly, yeah, with, because you got to remember 2014, prior to 2014, the um Ukraine was becoming too Russian friendly. I know we're talking about politics again, unfortunately, it's too Russian friendly towards Russia because they see them as being doing business. It was an Eastern European thing. If you talk about gangster state, it was always that. I, yeah, I don't want to say that every Eastern European is a gangster, but they're all gangster states to a certain degree. They all think alike, and we're all doing deals and everything else. I mean, we all know about Polish traders. We all know about um, yeah, different other um things about Eastern Europe. They've always been a little bit yeah, self-interested gangster states. Orban
Yeah,
isn't acting out of anything that's strange to me for Hungarian. Um, yes, he's a nationalist. Hungarians have always been nationalists. And
there's nothing
they'll
wrong in
yeah,
there's nothing wrong in that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, when you read the history of Ukraine, going back hundreds of years, they've always been taken over or swallowed up by someone else at some point. This is probably the longest period, I believe, they've ever had a taste of independence. And yeah, they were the most corrupt country in Europe before this present situation kicked off, if not before 2014. Yeah. Which was another excuse to get rid of the pre-2014 administration by the West. It's so corrupt. And they just replaced it with something that was equally as bad, in essence. Yeah. I mean, yeah, let's be honest. I mean, Russia is a gangster state as well, the way it operates. The
Well,
chief,
so is the EU. But I mean, we're talking. You put two politicians together.
yeah,
It's like Boy Scout rubbing two sticks together to
yeah.
create a fire.
Well,
If you put rub two politicians together, you're going to get a crisis somewhere along the road.
yeah, well, yeah, okay, yeah. Politicians thrive on crises, and yeah, I mean, it's a yeah. Now, I agree. I do. This is where I agree with you. It's time now to start talking, sitting down. The history's where it is. They've got to where they are. The only way forward now, you're going to get. I'm going to be honest. I think Russia have effectively won the conflict. Um, okay, people are saying, yeah, it's difficult to call. The fact that the Russians are still there with all the resources, as I said before, they're being put into Ukraine means effectively the Russians have won it. Why are they still in the Donbass, effectively holding the Donbass and Ukraine region and Crimea region? And um, yeah, they're not going after anything else. We all know that Russia, if it decides to take it up two gears, could more or less flatten Ukraine.
Right.
And they won't do that because Putin still sees Ukrainians as his brothers and sisters.